Hello, everyone. It's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. So, this week has been a week where I've spoken of brokenness. And I think part of the inspiration for this may have been the Bob Dylan song that came out. It's been decades ago, I think now, titled Everything is Broken. And he's got a verse in there that shows the brokenness of small things, but also the brokenness of big things. Broken bottles, broken plates, broken switches, broken gates, broken dishes, broken parts. Streets are filled with broken hearts. Broken words never meant to be spoken. Everything is broken. And I think Bob had it right with maybe one exception, and it's a very, very important exception. I've spoken of brokenness this week and God's ability to fix brokenness and all the different ways that brokenness is happening around us, in ways we regret, in ways that make us sad, in ways that make life difficult. But I want to talk about a different brokenness today. I want to talk about a good brokenness. This is a brokenness that's not always there in spite of what Bob says, but it's a brokenness that needs to be there. And the source for this passage today is from the Old Testament book of Psalms. In Psalm 51, a psalm that people often read associated with King David, and a time in his life where he had shrugged off the responsibilities of king and instead lived a very selfish time. He had taken as a mistress one of his soldiers' wives, Bathsheba, and had impregnated her and had tried to cover that up and been unable to do it successfully, and ultimately wound up having her husband Uriah killed on the battlefield as a means of covering it up. And of course, God knew, God found out, and the consequences were grave in many ways for David and for the family that he was developing through Bathsheba. And David wrote a penitent psalm, a psalm of penance, of I'm sorry, of repenting and trying to turn from his sin. And in the psalm he says, I could sacrifice a bull, a goat, I could do lots of different things, but what God wanted as a sacrifice was a broken spirit, a contrite heart. You see, that's something that's not always broken, but it's something that should be. There are times in our lives where we walk around proud, haughty, self-important. We believe ourselves to be something grander than we are. And Scripture teaches us we're not to be that way. Scripture teaches the value of humility. Scripture teaches us that we are to have a broken heart, contrite heart, broken spirit. We are to exist before God not as a proud people, but as an humble people. And so on a personal level, as I close this week on brokenness, and I'm excited about next week, I'd love to tell you what it's going to be. By the way, also excited about Sunday, one of my favorite opportunities to speak on knowing God this Sunday. Links below if you want to tune in live or after we're through. But my thought to leave you with today is pretty simple, and it's this. Prayerfully examine yourself, and where you find areas of pride and haughtiness, set them aside. Seek brokenness before the Lord so that he can put you together way he wants you put together. And when he does, give him all the glory. Don't take it yourself. And that's your video thought for the day.